Hi everyone! In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this wedding card box. So you can use this design for any event. It could be a baby shower, birthday, any event. And so for this project, it was my first time doing it. It doesn't require any skill, and it just needs a little bit of time. So let's get to it. So for this project, I used cardboard boxes that I bought at Michael's. They're boxes that you stack on top of each other. It was a good size, and it was pretty easy to work with. I also use the Scotch fabric glue in spray form. And to wrap the boxes, I chose this satin fabric that looked perfect for a wedding. Here you can see that I iron the edges of the fabric to give it a clean look. And to make sure that everything stayed in place, I sprayed the edges with that Scotch glue. As you can see with this project, I put everything on a towel because the glue gets everywhere. Here you can see that I am trying to lay the fabric perfectly. So when I sprayed the fabric, I would just have to roll the box, and then it will come perfectly and at the right spot and give it a clean edge. Here you can see that I roll the box on the fabric, and the fabric ends right where I wanted it to end, and it gave it this perfect look. Make sure that you always clean the spray so you don't get clumps, and make sure that you press on the Here you can see that I'm folding the fabric inside the box. It's okay if you end up with air bubbles or the fabric doesn't stick very well because it's inside. Since this part is a little hard, it's okay if you don't make it perfect because it won't show. This is the bottom of the box. I decided to cover it with an additional piece of fabric. So let's do this. Here you can see it. I put the fabric. I always iron the edges because it gave it this very nice clean look. And here you see I take my time to make sure that the corners are lined up, and it was pretty easy to do that part. Now this is how the bottom box looks like. I was quite happy with the result, but yes, the inside is not perfect. I try to clean it up. The glue sometimes came off, but like the fabric will come off, but it was okay. Here you can see that I am tracing the lid of the bottom box to make sure that when I cut it, I give it enough space for the box to go on top without falling off. I give it a 1 inch Here you can see I'm cutting it 1 inch from the tracing that I made, so there would be enough support for it to hold the box. Now it's time to cut the lid. So I'm following the tracing that I made. It was a little difficult to cut it in a straight line. That's why I ended up using a ruler. Here you can see that I'm using a ruler. It was a lot easier to make a straight line. You still have to take your time in order to get a really nice result. And this is what it looks like when you're done. Here I'm testing that the middle box fits on the lid. Now it's time to wrap the lid of the first box. As you can see, I cut little squares on the corners. I first spray my fabric and put the lid on top, making sure that the lid is perfectly aligned. And I always press to make sure that there are no air bubbles. Because of the satin fabric, I ended up with tons of threads everywhere, and it was kind of getting overwhelming, but it was perfect for the occasion, so I still am happy, and I think that the satin fabric was a really good choice, but it's quite a bit of work. Here you can see that I'm folding the fabric inside the lid. I made a diagonal cut on each corner to fold the fabric, like you can see here on the video. After that, it was time to cut the fabric. Again, I made a diagonal cut on each corner of the rectangle to fold the fabric. Again, it's not a big deal if you make a mistake or it doesn't look perfect, because again, this part is going to be hidden. That's the great thing about this project, is that you can there's so many parts that are not going to be seen. They're going to be inside, or you can cover it with a ribbon or a piece of fabric. So it's pretty good. You can start this project and feel confident. There's always a way to make it look beautiful and professional. Here you can see that I'm trying to fold the fabric, and it's not gonna look perfect, but it's okay because this part is not going to be seen. And here you can see that I cut the bottom of the second box. That's going to be sitting on the lid of the first box. Here you can see that I did a pretty bad job with the hole, and it looks pretty bad, but I wasn't worried because it was not gonna show. Here for this project, even though it's 3 boxes that are stacked up on each other, it's all part of one big box. This is the lid of the box that's going to be sitting on top. I cut a slot for all the to put in the envelopes. Now I'm gonna put a kind of like a diamond ribbon all around the lid. To glue the ribbon, I decided to use hot glue. It was pretty easy and pretty quick, so be careful not to burn your fingers. I went all around the lid before I made my cut to make sure that it's exactly where it should be. And this is the result. It was a good idea not to cut the ribbon because you don't even see where it ends or where it begins. So I just glued, I first glued, and now it's time to put the diamond where the slot is. I first put a very thin band on top and one on the bottom, and then I'm gonna put a small piece on the corners so it looks like it's one piece. And this is the result. It looks like it's one piece that I put on the slot, but in fact it's 4 pieces that I put together. You can't even tell. Even I couldn't see anything looking at it closely. You couldn't see it, and I think that it was a good idea to cut the diamond ribbon after, like I glue it and I cut it at the last when I got to the end to make the perfect cut, and I was quite proud of myself, so I was pleased with the result. As an accent color, I used a purple satin fabric that I cut in the shape of a band, and I ironed it to give it, I folded it in half and made it look like it was a ribbon, because it's a lot cheaper than buying a ribbon. So that's what I decided to do. Now I went all around the box with the satin fabric and used hot glue to keep the fabric from moving. I did not put hot glue underneath the ribbon. It was just to wrap it around. After that, I used a purple color tulle fabric and went all around the box and made a bow to give it a little bit more detail. After that, I added a little diamond on the bow, and that was my final touch. and this is the end result. It was my first time. It came out beautifully. It took a lot of time. It took me a whole weekend, not doing it the whole time, but taking breaks. But if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you have any question, make sure to leave a comment. Thank you.